Today's episode is sponsored by Music and Improv Save the World. Have you ever performed at an improv festival in Grand Rapids where there's a band playing in between each improv group and you're backstage waiting to go up and the band is playing these incredible tunes and you realize, damn, this band is awesome. And then also on the side, you've started recording a podcast, but you haven't released episodes just yet because you haven't found that right theme song? And as you're dancing backstage to this band that has horns and drums and guitars and you're getting hyped before your show, you realize this needs to be my theme music. And voila, they become your theme music. And then 3 years later, you're speaking to the lead guitarist from that band on your podcast, having a wonderful conversation. That sounds like the plot of an epic movie, doesn't it? Well, it's not a movie, folks. It's real, and it's happening right now. Today's guest is Kurt KJ Johnson, lead guitarist of KJ and the Good Time Family Band, whose music you hear on every episode of this very podcast. You can check out their album Kinfolk Cousins on Spotify and also look out for their second studio album Dynamics coming out soon. And for the first time in the history of this podcast, there's a video of the whole episode available on my YouTube page, which you can find by going to chiragrathod.com, chiragrathod.com, and clicking the YouTube icon on the bottom of the page. And oh yeah, I have a new exclusive theme song for this podcast made for yours truly, me, by yours truly, KJ. You can follow KJ on Instagram at KJ10, and you can also follow KJ and the Good Time Family Band on Instagram at KJ and the Good Time Family Band. You can follow me on Instagram at Mr. Rathor's Neighborhood. And also, while you're on my YouTube page, you might as well just subscribe to the page. And you can also subscribe to the podcast on all the podcast streaming platforms. If you're on my website already, which you obviously already are, you can sign up to get emails of all things going on with this podcast and more. And if you find any joy in this podcast, please tell your friends. And now, on to the episode. Today's episode was recorded on October 10th, 2020. Welcome to Mr. Rathor's Neighborhood.
Mr. Rathor's Neighborhood. Welcome. It's Mr. Rathor's Neighborhood. He wants you to meet his friends. It's Mr. Rathor's Neighborhood. Have a ball now, y'all. It's Mr. Rathor's Neighborhood. Just might learn something. It's Mr. Rathor's Neighborhood. Yes, you. It's Mr. Rathor's Neighborhood. It's time to enjoy the show.
Feel free to take bathroom breaks if you ever need to. This almost feels like a tattoo. That's on my tattoo. It's like, if you ever need to take a break, just let me know. So if you do need to bounce, we got to take a break or whatever. We should be good.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet. Oh, boy. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for the podcast, dude.
I know. I'm happy to be on here, man. I've been listening from the beginning and missed a lot in the middle and then picked back up near the end.
Oh, so you missed my podcast teenage years.
Dude, I know, man. That's how it goes with me with podcasts, though. I will like get obsessed with them and listen to them for a long time, forget about them for a bit because I'm just like, man, I've invested so much time that I have to listen to something else. But then I'll eventually get back around. So that's what I did with yours right now. I came back around.
I genuinely think it's ridiculous that people listen. It's such a weird thing to have people say that they listen to an episode. You know, you do these things because you want people to listen. But when anyone texts me and says, I listen to your shit, I'm like, wow, that is such a weird thing to hear. And just looking at numbers of streams or any of that, it's more than me and this person that I recorded with listen to. It's so crazy. So I really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure, man. Trust me, being a musician, man, I do the same thing, man. It's just crazy when somebody be like, oh, I listened to the album on the way to such and such. I'm like, you listened to the whole thing? Why? It's weird. It's you make art for people to enjoy, but then when they tell you they're listening, it's oh shit, you feel a little bit nervous.
Oh, absolutely. Why are you listening? Thank you for listening. I can't believe you're listening. I just flicked you off. I can't believe you're listening. Actually, before we get too far, let's introduce yourself.
Yeah, man. So I'm KJ. Kurt Johnson is my real name, but I go by KJ. I don't know. I met you one time at Pyramid Scheme where we were playing a hybrid show of improv was going on for Grand Rapids Improv Festival. and I was playing music in between the sets. You probably don't know this, but I used to do improv, so that's where the connection came from
I
with
did
those
not know
guys.
that. Okay.
Yeah, I used to do improv and stand-up comedy. It was a short-lived stint in my life. But yeah, I mainly consider myself a musician, and then by daytime, I'm a HR professional. That's what I do. So
Cool. Okay. So yeah, we met 3 years ago, or we
yeah, that's
crossed.
probably
Let's say cross paths. I don't
yeah.
even
We
know
crossed
who we
paths. I don't even know if we
crossed
met that
paths.
night.
No. So 3 years ago, I was on an improv team called the Gentleman's Sandbox, and it was like not even an improv team as much as like a comedy collective. So it was like a group of a bunch of people, and we would do improv shows and we would do sketches. And two of the members, Miles Potter and Jordan Cantola, are from Grand Rapids or the Michigan area, and they had some connections, and they told us about this improv festival. So some of the members of the team, those two and Nolan Skates and Kat Huck, if you're listening, all of you, we drove up to Michigan and did this improv festival. And that was the first improv festival I'd ever done. And then the way that the show was set up, as Kurt said, there was like 5 improv groups and a band in between each group. And before we went on stage, you guys were playing music, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I have ever fucking been a part of in my life, dude. I was like, I just had never, I already really love live music, and I'd been doing improv for a few years at the time. And then just like being backstage, like listening to you guys just fucking jam, and there's like a sax and like drums and just all this other shit. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Cause I'd like Dave Chappelle's Block Party is so cool where you combine
Oh hell
music
yeah,
and
man!
comedy. I was like, that's the coolest thing in the world. And then we're backstage having that happen. And then I think you guys were still on stage while we were performing.
Yeah, we were in the background because they wanted us to like vamp for some of like just like little cues or whatever, you know, for certain things. Like the next improv group, which I think was my old improv group, they're called like Late Night Grand Rapids. I can't remember if they were on that bill or not.
I have no idea.
I don't know. That was so long ago, but yeah. Either way, like one of the improv groups wanted us to do like music cues or whatever if certain things happened. So we stayed on stage, like behind everybody, and then we would come forward when it was our time to play.
Man, it was so dope. And then right around that time, I had just started recording this podcast, and I hadn't put
Yeah.
anything out yet. I had been just recording a few episodes and kind of just getting myself ready to put it out. And I was looking for music, and a lot of the like standard music that exists that you can just get sucks. It sucks so much, just like it's terrible.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this is a live band. They're fucking badass. So I ended up hitting up one of the organizers, Amy. I think Amy Gaskin.
Yeah, Amy Gaskin, man.
And I was like,
she's
who
so
are these?
funny, by the way.
Like, who are these people who did the music? Can I reach out to them? And I ended up getting connected with you, sent you a few episodes, and I was like, can I use your music? You guys are awesome. Listen to some episodes so you know you're not tying your music to something horrible. I'm trying to trick you into like this is. Or you said this before we went on. This podcast, we're going to find out if we actually hate our own race. And I didn't want you to be the theme music for anti-brown Indian podcast.
No, dude, I've learned, man. I've learned like when it comes to sharing your art or somebody like, I don't know, using your thing for their thing, like you gotta dive in, man, and see what it's about, man. Not that I've had any bad experiences, but it's just like I would hate to be tied with something where like, you know, I listen to like an episode of yours and you're just like totally like going ham on racism and being like, I don't see what the problem is or something. Like I would be so upset. Like I'd have to hit you up and be like, yo, I gotta take my shit away from you, man. Like I don't want to be established with that. So it's important for people to like really listen and dig in what they're getting involved with, you know.
I think that's, I mean, isn't that like what politicians do? They'll like steal an artist's music and then use it, and then the artist will be like, I don't like you, dude. I don't want you to have my music.
Yeah. You know how many times this has happened with Trump since he's been campaigning and stuff? I think the funny thing was, well, it's not funny, but at the height of COVID, he was playing Live and Let Die by Paul McCartney. And
Oh my God.
Paul
Dude.
was like, no, dog, like, first of all, like bad timing to use that song, right? You know, and just like, I don't like you.
Jesus Christ. So you said you did improv?
Yeah, man. So like there was, man, so I started playing guitar in like 2008, 2009 or whatever. I'd have been like 18, 19. And then I had my first band in like 2011, 2012. And just, typical young 20s, like everybody just wasn't getting together. We broke up. Then I was in another band called Nova Night. Same thing. That one felt more like a job to me. Like it was just like they played electronic music, which really wasn't my thing, and it was super easy for me to like just kind of keep up. But like,
Did you play the guitar in that band
I
too?
played the guitar in that band too. So like anyway, we were all in both of these bands that we were actively playing shows here and there. And then I kind of got kicked out of that other band because it was just kind of like we both kind of knew just like like this, like it works, but also just like it felt like a job. Like these three other guys were friends, and I was just like the outsider, And then one of their friends moved back from Texas, and I saw they were all playing together, and I was like, okay. And he's playing guitar. I was like, guess I'm out the band. So
what a terrible way to find
yeah, I was just like, oh yeah, Andrew's back. So now I see he's playing with you guys. So I'm probably just out. But anyways, man, so I always wanted to start KJ in the Good Time Family Band. Like that was always like literally from the beginning, man. I was like, I'm gonna start a funk rock band, like very Jimi Hendrix, Red Hot Chili Peppers, like mine. That was always my goal. But my first band was kind of doing like punk indie stuff, which is really cool. Second band was like electronic dance music. And then I started working on KJ and the Good Time Family Band because I was like, I need to just start my thing. Like I've been playing for like 5 years now. I feel more comfortable, but like it was hard to find people to do this. So in the midst of like finally not playing music, I was like, what else can I do to be on stage? I was like, let me do stand-up comedy. And so I just started dabbling in stand-up. And then my friend Sean Francis was like, hey man, I got like a sketch comedy group that I'm gonna start. Do you write? And I was like, not really. And but anyways, Sean got me into late night Grand Rapids, and then we did like sketch comedy, like kind of like SNL, like we would rehearse and remember these sketches, and then we kind of just formed into like / improv group. But anyways, the only reason I started doing all this was because I wasn't doing music in the meantime. And then my band started to pick up, and then I was doing like comedy and music at the same time, which was just like super stressful. So then I cut off comedy entirely after like this 1 to 2 year run, and I've never went back to it. So like the last time I did it was like 5 years ago or so.
Cool. Okay.
Sorry, I feel like that was a long-winded story.
Oh, we got all the time in the world. This whole podcast is long-winded stories. You have probably heard KJ and the Good Time Family Band on this podcast. Their music is the theme music, the intro, and the outro. Yeah, dude, I really liked your sound. I thought it was really interesting. I think like I don't know if you ever listened to Kids These Days, which was like Vic Mensa's group for like all these high school kids from Chicago.
Yeah, because they had all the horns, man. I was like,
they had a fucking blues band. They had so much. I was like, that is so interesting, and it sounds so cool to be able to combine rock and horns and rap and this girl who has a beautiful singing voice and like all of that together. And like when I saw you guys do that, I was like, that is. Yeah, it just blends so nicely, man.
Yeah, man. I'm like, it's so hard being an artist too, man, and like appreciating yourself and not. But I have come to like realize, like, just especially in my area, man, like, you don't really know Grand Rapids, but it's a pretty conservative area, man, and like you see a lot of the same shit, man. So I feel like when people see our band and it's like these 2 white guys and this 2 black guy and one's playing saxophone and like the drummer's like playing hard rock heavy, the bass player is like super funky, the guitar player is kind of raw. Just like we all blend these elements to like really work together. And like if people really knew our bandmates and like our musical like strengths of what we listen to, we're all so different. So it like brings like all of that together, man. But we still like find an intersection, it's crazy.
That's so the improv team I'm currently on, it's a team called Lucky Lucky. I've been with them for a few years now. It's a different
I watched one of the virtual ones.
Oh, dude, you are like the greatest, dude. You are amazing. Thank you again, man. What I think the strength of our team is that like we all work in different fields and we have a few different, like our lives are kind of different. We're just, I mean, I'm the only Indian person on the team, but there's this other, we have like one other person of color on the team and the rest are just white, which is like, that's sometimes seen as a bad thing. People just be like, oh, look at this other white improv team. That's just like what it is. But what I think is the strength of our team is that we're all like really different and are like coming from just different backgrounds in different parts of the country and work in different fields, and our brains work differently and our energy levels. Like we bring so much different stuff to the stage that together it makes this really beautiful, kind of chaotic, just unique, interesting piece of art. And it's because of that, like, we're able to somehow blend these things that are so different.
No,
It's one beautiful thing.
you're right, man. You know, and whenever you're creating with people, like, I feel like that is like the best thing when you could find somehow people who care about the same thing you do as much as you do, but like in a different lane. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
you could like comedy, but maybe you like the raunchy, crazy, stupid stuff. But then this other person who loves comedy just as much as you might be like a Dane Cook. What's the guy with the puppets? Is that Jeff Dunham or
Jeff
whatever?
Dunham. Yeah.
Yeah, like Jeff Dunham. You know, like you guys can have two different perspectives of comedy, but if you guys love comedy as much as you both love it, it doesn't matter which lane you come. When you guys come together, you can still create something. You know, that's like the great part with just like art and creating with other people. You know.
Yeah. How did you guys meet each other? How did your band all meet?
So me and Elliot, we go back to college. So like, it's funny. I went to a super diverse high school, East Kentwood, and we had like all different types of like people that went to the high school. But in college, I went to a very white college, and so and when I started my first class, like Elliot was literally like the only black person I saw. We kind of do that thing that all black people do, like a head nod. He's like, "What's up?" And I just went over there and sat by him, and we started talking. And he's super into music, and we were both like in the time like into like NERD, Pharrell. I think we were both starting to really get into like jazz music, like Herbie Hancock and like fusion funk type stuff. So me and Elliot like hit it off immediately, but I didn't find out he played saxophone till like years later. And then, I mean, I met him in 2007. And then this is like 2015 where I was just like, "Hey, you still play saxophone?" And he's like, "Yeah, like not really, but I could still play it." And he comes over, I'm like, "Hey, just come to practice, man. Like I'm starting this band. Like we'll just see." He comes in late because that's Elliot. He's always late as hell. He just picks up, starts playing the saxophone, and we're just like, we stopped playing. We're like, yo, you changed everything. And it's just so funny because, like I'm saying, I met him in 2007, didn't hear him play saxophone until like 2015. And it was just like on a whim of me asking him to come to practice.
Yeah.
And then Jason and Scott. So Jason was actually at a show when I was losing my original drummer, my good friend John. He had told me he was moving to Arizona. So Jason was at the show. Was like, "Yo, I love what you guys do. Like, if you need a drummer, like, let me know." And I was like, "Hey, sweet. Actually, we do need a drummer, man. My drummer told me he's leaving." So Jason came in to sit with practice. But the funny thing is, my first practice, my bass player in the band at the time, he actually missed practice. But this is like expected. He was actually in my first band with me. And we're good friends now. I'm gonna call him out, Bryce. So we're good friends now, but he was just going through a lot of shit in life, you know what I mean, at the time. And so, anyways, like I think I was like trying to text the group or text Elliot and be like, "Yo, man, like we got to get a new bass player." I text the group chat. And so Bryce was like, "Oh man," he's like, "So that's how it is." And I was like, "Yeah, man, like this is probably the best way." Like, you know, at this point in time in my life, I was just super non-confrontational. So I feel like I never would have confronted him, but like it just happened, you know, where I was just like, "All right, man, here's what it is, bro. Like, you know, we were in this first band together. Now we're in the second band and you still doing the same stuff, man. Like, I just can't have it." So anyways, Jason's first practice is like, "All right, sorry, bro, we don't got a bass player, but you can still stay in the band." So we jammed a little bit, but I was like, "We need a bass player." So I went on Craigslist, found Scott, who's my current bass player now, and we met up with him at Founders, the brewery down here, and we hit it off immediately, man. Just talking about music, same thing, man. He came to practice, man. He started playing bass. We were like, "Dude, what? Like, you are a bass." Like, no disrespect to Bryce, because he's really a guitar player, and I had him like playing bass. But when Scott came in, we were like, "No, you're like a bass player. Like, you get funky, you know." So like between those four core, like those four, like the main group right now, that's kind of how we all met. And funny story is, me and Elliot went to college together, but Jason and Scott, who had just met each other, because I met Jason here and met Scott here, they both went to Kansas at the same time, and neither of them knew it. They just started talking and discovered that. So it's almost like fate for them two.
I think about that a lot with just like, I've been really listening to a lot of Dreamville and a lot of TD and a lot of like Earth Gang. I don't know if you ever listen to Earth Gang a lot, but
Dude, I saw Earth Gang live, man, and I saw JID live. Yeah.
they're like my 1 and 2 pretty much right now.
Man. Yeah.
when I listen to Earthling, I'm like, it is, how the hell do they find each other and then like be, you know, in a spiritual way or whatever, like they probably were meant to find each other to be able to create that together. And like any sort of, you know, couples and friends, and it's like,
Yeah.
were we supposed to, like, was this supposed to happen? If this works this well, was it just going to happen
I know, dude.
regardless of whatever else?
I think about that stuff all the time, man. I'm a big believer in just like, I don't know, like that type of shit having to happen, you know, like John Lennon and Paul McCartney, man, they were gonna meet, man. Like they were destined to come together, you know. Same thing with like my band, even though we're on a small level, I'm not comparing us to like the Beatles or no shit like that.
Well, it's like
I'm
Beatles
just
number one, number two, right? That's the
yeah, right. Us number 2 million, billion, trillion, gazillion, I don't know. But yeah, you know, just like sometimes like when you hear those stories, man, where like when Jason and Scott came to practice, they're like the same age. They're like talking. It's like, where'd you go to college? I went to Kansas. Me too. What year? This year. Oh, me too. So we never met each other at Kansas for 4 years, but somehow here we are, 33 years old or whatever, in some 20-year-old's basement connecting, you know, and they're like the older guys in the band too, man. So they were like the first dads of the band.
Oh, cool.
And so you know, so they just had this connection all of a sudden, you know, but it's just like those dudes were on the same plane and didn't meet each other then because they were meant to meet each other like in this moment to like connect, you know, and be together. And like, yeah, I just feel like that stuff happens all the time, man. We're just colliding. But also the one thing that's important too is when people go out of your life too, I think that's like a part of it too. I don't mean like dying, but I just mean, you know, sometimes you just lose people where you're just like, damn, man, like what happened? We used to be like best friends and hang out. It's just like the time has passed for that and it's just gone, you know?
Yeah, no, yeah, I think it was Pete Holmes' podcast or something he was talking about where he said like he came to this realization that not everyone is meant to be in your life always. They are maybe there just for those like 2 or 3 years to shepherd you through whatever you're going through. Not that they might be the most important person at the time, but they were just necessary for whatever it was that you were doing. And it makes me sad when I think about like some of my close friends that might potentially happen, you know, and that's whatever, if it's going to happen, then it is what it is.
Right.
But it's like sad. 'Cause it's like, there are people who I really kicked it with in pharmacy school who are like my main people. And then after pharmacy school ended, we don't see each other anymore. We don't even text anymore. And it's nothing even bad happened. We just kind of like, we're
Just
there for
fizzled
those.
out.
Yeah. And it's like, damn, that's so, yeah, I don't know. It's sad, but it's also kind of, I don't know, kind of beautiful. Like,
I know, yeah. It's sad and beautiful at the same time, man. It's funny.
that's like,
you know?
that's what flowers are, right? They're not meant to be there forever. They're just like beautiful for that.
No, I mean that's life, man. Everything is like not meant to really be here forever, man. It's just like relationships are the same way, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, do you, how do you guys, what's the musical, maybe this is too large of a question, but like, how is a song made? That sounds like the name of a kid's book about music. What's that process like?
Yeah, man. So in the beginning, man, it was a lot of me just like writing literally everything and like bringing it to the band and being like, here's how to play it like your own way.
Like you would write the song for the whole band?
Yeah, like I had the lyrics, I would have usually guitar part, I had bass part, and then drums. I don't play drums, so it usually be like some type of electronic drum or like something from MIDI that I created. And then saxophone, I never do saxophone. I can't take credit for that. Sometimes I do create guitar parts that Elliot takes and turns into saxophone parts, but for the most part, like Elliot like improvises his stuff in practice and like comes up with it. But everything else, like I usually write, and then like I don't know, you can see this is like, you know, my music little setup, so I'm always like good to go. My guitar's over there. But yeah, man, so I'm just usually up here, man, writing, playing the synth. I usually just open Garage. I never like, it's very rare for me to just like have like a song in my head and be like, oh man, this is what I gotta lay down. It happens every once in a while, but not a lot. But so most of the times I just come up here, man, I pick up a guitar, pick up bass, just start recording, messing around, and just end up with something.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah. So it's usually like and I usually consider those like demos typically, you know, like it just doesn't sound as good. Like, you know, I could play the bass, but I can't play bass like Scott. So when I show him like, okay, this is how you play this, he gets his own like funk on it. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's exactly how I wanted it to sound, but couldn't get it to sound that. Same thing with drums, you know. I'm doing like electronic drums and playing like on keys. So when Jason plays it, I'm like, yep, that's exactly how I wanted it to sound. It's a lot tighter, you know. And then once Elliot adds saxophone on it, it just changes like everything, you know. So yeah, I can't take credit for it. It's like, yes, I write like the bases of the song, but those are usually like demos, and we really build upon those.
Cool.
But I say me, I mean Scott has been writing a lot too. Like we're about to finish up our second album next week, and Scott wrote like a few of those too. Like even the guitar parts, like I'm playing Scott's stuff.
Sweet. Do you want to tell the people? We can also we can tag to your albums and all that. But what are the names of your albums? If people want to find it, where they can find it.
Well, we only have one real album out right now. It's called Kinfolk Cousins, Kinfolk, and then Cousins with a K too, Kousins. That's like our debut album, man. That's like one of those things where like it's my baby, man. So like I'm proud of it, but also I'm like that's not really a good representation of like who we are. It's so hard because like you said, you saw us live. Like I really consider us like a live band. Like that's our meat and potatoes. Like we just got a lot of energy, man. Me and Elliot feed off each other well. Like the crowd just has a good time. So it's like really hard to capture that. In the first album we did with my friend Ben, but he has like a whole home studio basement. Like they converted their like real deal, you know what I mean? And so we recorded it there, but it's just like we're on time constraint, you know, we're in somebody else's house, like we're going back and forth for like really recording like individual parts. Like Elliot can't be at a session, so like he went and did his part separate, you know. So like we never really were like cohesive. So I feel like on that first album, yeah, like the live experience is missing because like we didn't really do it all together. Like we just kind of, you know, recorded here and there. But with the second album, we still do kind of have that, but like the meat and potatoes, we recorded at this lake house. So my bass player has a lake house, so we went up there for like a weekend and just like did everything like that we needed to. And then from there we've been recording. Like we got so many more people in this album. Like my friend Adrian's on it, my friend Meredith is on it, my friend Patty's tracking some vocals, my friend Ben Froze is on it, we got my friend's 10-year-old son on it. It's like the next album is just like a party, man. Like it feels more like us. And it's just a lot more introspective stuff. There's like an intro, interlude, outro, and they all kind of connect and are more dreamy, and feel like it shows a different side of us than just like the funk rock stuff we did on the first one. So super excited about the second album, but it's not quite done yet. Still working on it.
Cool. And what's that going to be called?
It's called Dynamics.
Nice. Did you guys all, so you said did you have the people come to the house to record too?
Yeah, so before coronavirus happened and everything like that, I would have people come to my house, or either Scott would do some sessions different, or either I would go to my friend's house. But so like one of the songs, it was like me, Elliot, and then my friends Adrian and Meredith, who aren't in the band, and we just did some vocals together. And we love Outkast, man. I don't know if you know that song Synthesizer. Mm-mm. Oh man, it's on Aquemini, man. You gotta hear that. It's got George Clinton on it. But they do like this thing where the song's fading out and they're all like just snapping and like grooving. Synthesizer. And we were listening to it before. And so like when we were recording this song, we were all doing the vocals like let the sound fall. So we were all doing it together. And then my friend Adrian just like, yeah, you like it, you love it, hey. And then we just all started like coming in, you know. And that's like the beautiful thing with those sessions. But like we had the whole song, but like that part wasn't there. But just that little moment of having them come over here and just like do the session, we created it. So it's just like always fun to like either. So to answer your question, all the other stuff on the album that wasn't done at the lake house, we've all just kind of recorded it like remotely in little sessions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like we've been doing these virtual shows and it's been cool. You know, I get to do stuff with my team.
By the way, I didn't even tell you which one I saw. It was the goofy one, the car dealership. Yeah.
That is the Breaking Bad Disneyland, which I think is probably my favorite one that we've done. It got so dark, and in essence, it's about the Disneyland characters being like crackheads and smackheads.
I love shit like that, man. Like I was just like, wait, they're saying Mickey Mouse was on crack. Like, what's going on? Like, it's one of those things where like I'm listening, but then it like really catches my attention.
That like it made me think about just like, you know, I probably wouldn't have come to that idea just on my own, just sitting around. We wouldn't have gotten to wouldn't it be funny if Mickey Mouse was on drugs and Goofy was a smackhead and all that? But it's like that creative process takes you to these places that you never would have gotten. Like, I wouldn't have gotten there alone. I needed my team. I needed that environment. We needed the suggestion. We needed all of that to get us to this weird place. And
Yeah.
that I find so beautiful about like collaborating with people and just like what you can, if you really feed into embracing what you can do together is better than what you can do yourself. It takes you to these ridiculous heights. That song you guys made, or just this fucking weird, like, this weird Disneyland thing, which so my mom follows one person on Instagram, and that's me. And she was showing me her Instagram once, and it's funny. She was, that like search feed on Instagram where it shows you other people you can follow.
Yeah.
So I guess it's based on the people that you follow, and I pretty much just look up like hot models in little clothes. So my mom's like search is just like these chicks at the beach. And I was like, Mom, what the hell are you doing? But she loved that clip. She thought that Mickey Mouse clip was so fun. Do you know how dark this shit is? But I love that stuff. And like, that's really what I like about my team too, is we mess around with that. It's so dark, but it's so fun. Like,
no, it's so funny because like we have so many songs that in my mind, they're not really dark, but just we talk on a lot of heavy subject matter. But like, I usually make lyrics for people don't. So for instance, we got this song called Hands in the Air, which is like, I wrote like back in 2015, but the lyrics are, got my hands in the air, but they don't care, because in their heart they just feel fear. You would think it's a sin to have black skin, but that's something I can't comprehend. Got my hands in the air, but they don't care. And so when people are at the show, there's like, got my hands in there, yeah. But they don't hear like the rest of my shit where I'm like, black skin, this is something you can't comprehend. And you could surrender, but you still might get shot. Lives being lost over basic traffic stops. How many more lives for this has to all end? So I'm like singing all this dark shit, and people are just like, got my hands in the air, but they don't care. And it's like, it's so funny, man. And I mean, there's so many, every once in a while somebody catches it. I had a song called We All. And it just keeps saying we all, but I say we're all gonna die. We all get high, so sit back and enjoy the ride. And somebody's like, "Man, did you have a song saying like that you were gonna die?" And I was like, "Yep." And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "Cause everybody was dancing, but I was feeling like kind of dark." I was like, "Yeah, you got it. Like that's the thing. That's what I want. Like I'm talking about this subject matter, but like the music behind it is happy, so people don't understand." And like I like doing that because they do that in Hey Y'all. Like, I don't know if you know that, but that song is like really depressing. Have you ever noticed that?
No. Well, maybe I'll just say no, but I feel like I've heard people talk about it. I'm going to go listen to that again after this.
Yeah, but it's really about a song of like not being able to be with girls. So like, what's that one part? So why are we in so denial when you know we're not happy here? Y'all don't want to sing. Y'all just want to hear me dance or something like that. Or y'all don't want to hear me sing. Y'all just want to dance. Like he's talking about how sad he is, and like people don't want to hear him sing. They just want to dance, and it's literally true. That's what people do. So Pumped Up Kicks is like that, where it's a song about a school shooting, but people just like love Pumped Up Kicks because it's so upbeat. So I don't know. I love that concept
Dude,
of songs, man. So like I try and do that a lot in my music, man.
Why that as opposed to just making like a sad ass song? Like what inclines you to do stuff like that? Because I can tell you from a comedy perspective, because I think I do a similar thing of like talk about dark stuff in a funny way. And I can tell you, but yeah, tell me why. I'll tell you why for me with comedy, but you can.
I don't know. For me, man, I just feel like the world is, and it's so funny because I'm an optimistic person, so I don't want to be like I'm some emo mopey person. But I'm just like, the world is fucked up, man. Like the world is a sad place, man. But we also like need to be happy and have our joys, man. And music is like one of those things. So typically when I'm creating music, I want to create upbeat music. But when I start writing lyrics about whatever it may be, man, it's just like, I think my mind, and like same thing with lyrics, like I really just let my pen flow. You know what I mean? I don't really like think of I don't think for like metaphors and similes for hours upon hours. I'm just like, okay, this feels natural. Thinking of like a next stanza, like this feels natural. If it doesn't, I'll cross it off, come back, write whatever. But anyways, like when I'm just writing, like the songs just form itself. And then I'm like looking at the verse and I'm like, Okay, I see what this song's about now. So like I usually have the music first. So the music is always upbeat and that's what I write. But then when I start writing lyrics, they just kind of go in that direction, I guess.
Ah, that's interesting. So I'm like you as well. Like I'm a pretty optimistic person, but I'm not unaware that the world is
Right.
dark and scary and sad and horrific. But like I think from my purpose, like I need to be aware of those things, but I'm also not going to be, I don't want to be sad about it because then I can't
Right.
do anything. Like I do have a very positive approach, but I'm also like, yeah, people are getting fucking killed all over the world every day.
Right.
And like in my brain, it's like, you know, on my highest day, on my happiest day of my life, is also someone's like the worst possible day of their
Right.
life. And I don't know if that's good or bad or whatever to think about that, but it's like I want to be I want to talk about dark stuff, but I also want to like what else am I doing here other than to just like have a good time and be as nice as possible and connect with
Right.
people and hang with my friends and fuck around and talk about sad shit, but also like have the like try to make these deep connections of love with friends and family and whoever, and also be aware of that. And that's
No,
interesting that you
100%.
think about that on a music sense too, because that is like you trick people into being happy with these like dark lyrics, but maybe it catches them too. Like maybe they hear that eventually.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You know, I feel like, you know, the one thing I love about Music Man and like Red Hot Chili Peppers is like one of my favorite bands. But the, you know, and a lot of people make fun of Anthony Kiedis and his, you know, just like his mumble jumble. But, you know, when they ask him to interpret his lyrics, he's like, yo, it's open for interpretation for you. Like, it's not for me to describe like what this song means to you. Like, what does it mean to you, you know? So like when I write my lyrics, they're usually like in that sense where they mean something to me in the literal direct sense, but for somebody else listen to it can mean something totally different. Like one of the songs off the second album was called Funky Lover, and it's like really upbeat. And I think the chorus is like, will you be my funky lover, will you help me rediscover those things that once were mine but I can no longer find. But the song is about infidelity and like being like, you know, trying to find a lover. So anyways, my wife is an artist, she's a graphic designer, so I had her make, so we want to do like a music video, like animated with just like the lyrics. And so she's like, can you give me the lyrics? And I was like, yeah. And so I explained to her like what the song was about. She's like, damn, are you trying to cheat on me or something? Like, what's going on here? And I'm like, no,
Very
just
valid.
like,
It's a good question to ask.
yeah, man, like music is just about imagination. And really, you know, I was explaining to her like the first verse is really like sexual. Like he's like sitting on springs, you watch, gotta give me what you got. I'm gonna pick up my heart, don't change. I really wish I knew your name. So it's like first verse is like all this shit is just being like we have fun. But then second verse is like about like him understanding like that like it did nothing for him, you know what I mean? It's like look down, try and change, try and rearrange. Maybe my vision was impaired, maybe I never really cared, my conscience made me do what I do, you know, like questioning all these things of just like, okay, having sex with her didn't do anything to make me feel better. Like what was the point of all that, you know? So I was explaining to her of just like this thing, it's like a cautionary tale. Like I'm not like that, and I would never, like, I trust me, I'm not a guy who would cheat, you know. But it's just like to write a song about that is like the best thing. And you know, and a lot of people, if you talk to me, man, I'm a huge Prince fan. Like Prince is like my number one above like anything. And that's the thing with Prince, man, is like in his music he just put everything in there, you know what I mean? Just like all his thoughts, all, that's why he's got like a billion songs, you know. And just like that's what I try and do. It's just like I'm not a cheating guy, I wouldn't cheat, but like if I was a cheater, like this is probably how I would feel about it, you know?
It's yeah. I think of the stage in a similar sense of like this is my playground to be able to act out and think stuff that I've thought about without fully necessarily like being about that life, infidelity, or like I've had like breakup scenes, like loud screaming, like in life. I'm not a yeller. I don't really yell at
Right.
people directly, but on the stage, like I think it's so
Oh man.
freeing to be able
So
to
do you only do improv or do you do sketch comedy too?
so mostly improv for a little bit with Gentleman Sandbox. We were doing some sketch. I did this stretch for a few months where me and like, I don't even know how many, it was like 30 comedians from Chicago, maybe somewhere between 20 and 30, but every week we would write and perform new sketches. Like it was crazy. It was the closest to SNL I'd ever felt, where it was like every week it was, we'd pick a theme and then we would just all go home, write a sketch, figure out who was going to be in it, half-ass memorize it, try to do our best, put it up there, see what happens. And I did that for a little bit, and that was really cool. But it's mostly improv.
I was just thinking that because, you know, like sketch for me, I love doing the sketch comedy part. That's kind of why I got out of my group. We just kind of started becoming more improv, man. Like we had kind of reached our plateau of sketches, you know, so like everything just kind of became improv. But like the sketch part was like really what I loved, you know, of just like writing these sketches and making like these characters of like who I wasn't, but who like I could be or who I wanted to be. Like trying to think of a sketch, man. Like I wrote one. So it's funny. Fast forward to 2020, I am an angry black man. But back in 2015, I was a mild mannered, not super angry black man. You know what I mean? And so I had this sketch where it was like a black guy who gets mad at like anytime anybody asks him about anything being black. So like he goes to like Chipotle and they're like, would you like pinto beans or black beans? He's like, what? Are you trying to ask me about black beans? And like he just starts getting all deep, you know, and they're just like, sir, I'm just asking. We ask everybody. They're like, no, you wouldn't ask her black beans or pinto beans. And they're like, yes, we would. And I'm like, no, but you asking me about black beans for a certain reason. You know, all right, he goes to Starbucks and he's asking, you know, would you like regular coffee or would you like coffee black? And the same thing, just like goes into a montage. And it's just like, it's funny because like in 2020, like that's how I feel now, where like anytime I come across some, like, and it's funny, my wife is white. I should mention that, but just like, whenever I come across some white people, man, who give me that feeling, I'm just like, what are you really trying to get at? What you really trying to say? You know what I mean? But it's funny, I was writing that character in 2015 because like that wasn't me. I would just let a lot of shit slide and not speak up, you know? So it's like you know, creating that character was just like fun to play that because that's just not who I was at the time.
But it lets you like get it out of your system. Like I really do feel like for me, improv has really helped be my counterbalance for whatever else. Like I think I'd be less of who I am if I didn't have improv, because it's been such a counter and it's made me like, I think, better than who I was. I've learned so much about myself and grown from that. But it is it's yeah, for me, a way to just creatively explore my brain, take my place into new thoughts, be people I'm not get to be old women, little kids, screamy, loudmouth, boisterous, like clown that in just normal life, I'm just, you know, I mean, I can be loud kind of, but I'm not screaming and just like this big grand person, you know, and it's really fun to let it out on stage because it is like such a big, I don't, and I would imagine this is the same with music, but I don't know fully how to explain to people the value of being able to just like scream, you know, if it's like musically scream, actually scream on stage, just let whatever bullshit is inside of you out, just to get it out there. Like it's so calming. Like after a show, I feel like cleansed. I just feel
man,
a little
like you're floating, man.
Yeah, and especially like, and dude, like for real, after the set that we did with you, I was like, I felt like I was like for real, floating in the air. The show went really cool. In my brain, I was actually thinking about this. I don't know how big that venue was that we did that Improv Fest in, but in my brain, it felt like we were in the middle of the United Center. It was so big and so loud and just like
yeah, man, that place is actually like my home away from home, and that was my first time playing on that stage, and I still haven't really played like an official show there. I played a tribute show there too with a whole different band last year, but either way, for me, man, that was a big moment for me because I love that place, man. Like I've met like some of my heroes there, man. Like one of my favorite bands is Unknown Mortal Orchestra, and Ruben Nielsen, one of the guitarists, was there. Met him. That's where I met my wife for the first time. So like that place is like really big for me, man. So it was like fun to be on that stage for the first time.
Pyramid Scheme, right?
Pyramid Scheme, yeah.
Shout out to the Pyramid Scheme, man. Good.
Yeah, man.
Wow,
Pyramid
you met your wife.
Scheme, man.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. But like there was nothing like romantic, like just it was friends of friends, and we were all there, you know. So yeah.
What's changed? What got you to go from angry black man on stage to angry black man on life?
In real life? Man, just everything going on, man, you know, and I think just having a daughter too, man, and you know, she's biracial, and I'm gonna have to explain to her being like, yo, because I want my daughter to embrace her full heritage. So like her like my wife's mom is from Brazil. So, you know, like, I'm like, yo, you got this heritage, so learn that, you know, and the same thing with my daughter, though. I'm like, you black, though, you also got to learn this, you know? and I want her to embrace both sides. But for all intents and purposes, when she gets out in the real world, like I got to teach her, like they gonna think you a black woman now. So that's gonna be a whole different story for you, you know. But just seeing everything going on, man, and everything in 2020, man, like I've lost so many friends, dude. That like I'm talking about people that was at my wedding, I was at their wedding. I ain't even talking to them no more because it's just like I can't stand for the bullshit, man. You know, it's like one of my friends was arguing because he had like Blue Lives Matter like on his page or whatever, you know, and I'm like, Jake, bro, like this is like super offensive, man. Like take this down, you know. And the crazy thing with that kid is like me and him had so many talks. So like I'm an HR professional in real life, you know, but I'm a little bit different than most HR people. Like I really pull you in and show you myself. I'm not like the stuffy HR, like I'm just writing you up. So this dude, when I worked with him, I would bring him in the office so many times. I have talked to him, be like, yo, you just being lazy, man. Like you need to do this. And like they want to let you go, but I'm trying to save you, you know. And at the end of the conversation, it was always like, you are the best person I know. And like, I want to be like you, blah, blah. So that's how much respect I thought this person had for me, you know? And there's like another black person being like, hey, take this down, man. It's offensive. Hey, take this down. This is offensive. And he's like, no, I'm going to keep it up, blah, blah, blah. Like, KJ, you're a super nice guy, but this and that. Such and such, you're a super nice guy, but that. This and this and that. You're a super nice guy. And I'm like, okay, so you telling us we're all super nice. We're all telling you it's bad. What's the one thing we got in common here, my guy? We all black. You know what I mean? You respect us and all this, and you saying you understand it and you get it, but then you still rebuttaling with, but this. Same thing, I had a friend, man, who was just saying like Black Lives Matter was just like a bad movement and all this stuff like that, you know, and I educated him. So I went in we're talking back and forth, you know, and he's still not getting it, you know. And so I'm like, okay, let me tell you about all these situations. And I listed them for him. And I'm not about to go down the list, but I'm like, Oscar Grant, Fruitvale Station, shot in his back while handcuffed, you know what I mean? Alton Sterling, selling CDs at a gas station, shot in his stomach after he had him detained. Sam DuBose, man, shot in his car in the head. You know, I'm listing off all these. Tamir Rice, 12 years old. Eric Gardner, man, like, I know my shit with all of this, you know what I mean? And so, like, his only response back is just like, LOL, man, like, I don't really know what to do about it. Like, I just think, like, you know, if people need to like keep their opinions to themselves and blah blah. And I was like, just like LOL, man. Like our lives are funny, bro. Like it don't matter, you know what I mean? So like, and these are people that like I had so much respect for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like I'm starting to realize, man, just like as a black person, it's just like, you know, you think somebody thinks a certain way, you think because they're around you that they really understand it and get things, but it's just like you got to think a little bit deeper, man. And it's like all these things where there's been triggers where I've seen these certain traits in them and just let them slide, you know? And now I'm just like to the point where I'm just like, for the sake of my daughter, man, for the sake of like the next generation, I cannot keep letting this stuff slide. Like I'm just not, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. What, how did you, was that just like, because it sounds like you understand the value of having different types of opinions in your lives and conversing to get to that point. So what, like, this was just the final straw that was like, this, you're not getting it. I just can't have you around anymore. Time to bounce.
Exactly, man. You know,
Yeah.
because like I'm saying, like these are people that I done broke bread with. You know what I mean? So like I done been at their house, they done been at my house. We done had deep conversations about this. I didn't explain this to you. You know what I mean? I didn't show you. You know, like my friend kept being like, I just don't understand why they had to riot. I'm like, bro, like I'm not a rioter. Like if you know me, I'm not out there rioting. Like I'm not going to do that. But like, you know, like I said, I mean, like I feel very like prophetic because like, you know, I wrote Hands in the Air in 2015 about all of it, like, you know, just the killings and things. And I remember this certain guy when we sat on his deck and he was posting Trump stuff and being like, oh, I don't really support him, but just like I just like to have opinions and blah blah blah. And I told him there, I was like, it's gonna be a riot, man, with this dude in office. You think so? Yeah, bro, I know so because like people are really fed up about that, you know. So we had these conversations like back in the day, and I'm just like, everything I said to you is happening, bro, and I'm still explaining to you why it's happening now. And all you keep trying to talk to me is like acting like I am a rioter, like, and I'm like, I'm not talking about the riots. You keep talking about the riots. We already know. If I've sat on your back porch, man, like I'm not a rioter and I don't agree with it, but I understand why it's happening. And all you keep doing as somebody who's like a good friend of mine, you just want to keep talking about the riots. Like you clearly got a disconnect where you don't understand all of this after everything we done had. So it's just like, therefore, I have to cut you out until you do your own research and figure it out, you know? And you know, I just think even like being a musician, man, I've let so much stuff slide. Like you saw our band, and like we a little bit like we could get a little pretty hard rock, you know what I mean, and just start going solos and doing crazy. But I've had like so many times people get off the stage and be like, "Oh man, like that was cool. Like I can't believe like you could play guitar that good." And it's like, why? And it's like they catch themselves like, "Oh yeah, because you black, and I thought maybe you'd be a rapper, and I
Oh
just
my
never
God.
really see black people play guitar like that." You know, and we usually would just joke and I'll laugh about it. But just like I'm not letting stuff like that slide no more. I'll be like, no, you saw me with my backwards cap on. You saw I was black. You thought that maybe I would be a rapper, and you're super surprised that I could play guitar very well, even though like black people created rock music, and Jimi Hendrix is the greatest guitar player that ever lived, and Gary Clark Jr. is doing the same thing now. But you just have this such broad perspective of what a black person is to you that like you equate it with rapper, and you can't even see it. Like that's what I'm gonna tell people when I see them at shows now. You know what I mean? Like I'm just not letting stuff slide, man. Like I'm just to
Yeah.
that point where I'm just like I've been laughing and giggling about this shit, but for the sake of my daughter, man, it's just like no, I'm educating people, and I'm not gonna do it mean. Like I'm not a mean person, but I'm just like people are gonna get education or get educated when they say something to me that's just like out of pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, that's interesting, man.
Yeah, and the problem is like you know like there are like you know like I think the quote is like real ones are like woke you know people or whatever. Like I said, my wife is white. You know what I mean? Like we've talked about these. You know, I got friends, man. Like my friends Ashley, all my music friends, man, Ben, Devin, like all these guys who are white. Where I've talked to them. So I'm like, I mean, like I'm not just saying like white. You know, that was one thing that one of these guys kept getting mad. Like you keep saying white people. Like don't just say white people. Like it's racist. And I was like, are you racist? Because if you're not racist, then you obviously know you're not the white people I'm talking about. You know what I mean? It's like it was triggering him. And then he told me the example was like, he was like, Black Lives Matter is racist because it's like, you know, if you had a stepfather and he was liking his real kid more, but treating the other kid as if he didn't matter. And I was like, bro, you're comparing racism to like a stepfather liking his other child more than the other kid. Like, what are you talking about, man? You know, so just like these people, man, who I would have thought seriously got it, and then they don't get it, you know. And I think like I knew they didn't to the full extent, but I allowed it to go on. But all I'm saying is just like when I say like, you know, white people or whatever, I'm literally talking about like racist people. And if you don't feel offense or like offended by that or triggered, then you're probably not one of those people. But if I say like white people and you're like, how dare you lump me in with these group of people, you might want to re-question like what you're thinking, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a conversation with one of my improv teammates one time, and she said something about, I think I've talked about this maybe with Jess, or I don't remember, whoever. But anyways, someone said, a few people have said this to me, this phrase, men are trash. And I find
Oh,
myself, yeah, right. And I find
yeah.
myself pushing back against it. And it's like the response is, yeah, but I'm not talking about you. And I'm like, I get it. I know you're not, but there's still a part of me that like is reacting. Cause yeah, I don't know. I completely understand the like, I'm not talking about you, but there's a part of me that's going to react. I wonder if that's the same with race, where it's like,
I,
I'm not talking about you, but so that's why I struggle on how to phrase that. Cause I agree with
yeah.
everything that you're
No,
saying.
yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it sounded like that girl was coming hard at you though. It sounded like she was hitting at you. She was calling you trash, bro. I'm just playing.
No,
She
she
was saying
wasn't.
men are trash. She was literally talking about you at the
Bro, that was almost a
time.
year ago, and I think about that shit every day. I was like, that girl fucked me up, dude. It's like a 2-hour interaction that has now impacted me for
Uh, hey
months.
man, are you a Mark Maron fan?
Uh, I'm not a fan. I just don't really listen to him that much.
Okay, all right, yeah. Like I listen to WTF, but I'm a huge Mark Maron fan. But I saw him in stand up, and like one joke that he told that just had me cracking the fuck up was he was talking about how you can have like this insignificant moment or just this one thing that somebody says to you, right, and it goes in your brain, and it's like you can never get it out. So he was just like talking about like how somebody came up to him, and was just like he was drinking something. He's like, "What are you drinking?" And he told him, he's like, "Oh, you got to drink more turmeric." He's like, "Turmeric?" They're like, "Yeah, you got to drink turmeric or else you'll die. Like you need to have more turmeric in your diet." He's like, then the person just left. And then for the rest of my life, I'm like, am I getting enough turmeric? I'm Googling like about turmeric, trying to figure out like, is turmeric what I really need? Like, should I get turmeric as a daily growth? He's just like, this one person said something about turmeric being in the diet and being good and loved forever. And I never seen him in my life again. And now I'm obsessed with turmeric of if it's good for me, and like that's that experience of like that girl just saying like men are trash, and this one little moment it's just like it's stuck there, you know what I mean, where you're just like, man, what does that mean? Like, what were you saying by that? We never got a chance to talk about it all the way through.
Yeah, I tried to set up a second date with her where realize this probably would have been just that, like, because how do you maybe I don't know if this is a stupid question, but like, you're talking about these large scale issues that very much deal with race. And if you say white people or whatever, but you're talking about a specific collection, but if you're speaking to a person who's white, they're probably going to get offended. But how do you navigate? Like, I'm not talking about you, talking about this other type. I don't know.
No, you're right. That's interesting for you to make that comparison to men are trash, because I can relate, because I'm a man. So, so like, that might make me feel some type of way too. So yeah, I never thought about it in that perspective. So
I push back constantly because it's like, get the fuck out of here. Nobody likes, I think, these like blanket statements, even if you're not specifically talking about someone. I find that doesn't fly in a lot of other things. Nobody agrees with that. Certain races are this, certain races are that. It's like, you can't say that shit because that's not true. Like,
right.
And I also know that. I know shitty dudes. I have dudes who are kind of garbage,
When you said that, man, I'm just like, I totally get that. Like, yes, men are pretty shitty sometimes,
So's women, so's everybody. We're all shitty.
True.
I'm shitty sometimes. I'm mostly trying to be good, all that stuff. But it's like that's the only like. But
just like humans are shitty in general is what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about humans are shitty. Humans are also they're also the best, dude. Like, that's like.
I was having this conversation with my wife the other day because I was thinking about that too. Of just like no matter how good you are, like there's gonna be some quality in you that somebody sees that's just like, wow, that makes them like an awful human being, you know what I mean? And it's just like, you can never really win, man. Like, humans are messy, man. We all like think like, I mean, for instance, man, me and you are super optimistic guys, you know what I mean? From I feel like we have a similar perspective on things, but like from just us talking earlier, we both like rap music, which we could go down the line of saying like, like rap music degrades women a lot and has a lot of misogyny in it, but like I still listen to it and support it. And it's just like, somebody else might look at us and be like, how could you, how dare you like listen to that when you two guys are like these type of people,
Future's talk about putting fucking Molly and girls and Rick Ross doing the same time, like, fuck yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, like just bumping the track, man.
It's so loud down my block, everybody knows what I'm about,
One of my favorite rappers is Danny Brown. Do you listen to Danny Brown?
Yeah,
but his album like XXX is just like super explicit with all types of sexual misogyny and shit, and I'm like ridiculous. Bumping it, man, like loving it. But it's just like, like that human part of you is just like, as a human, it's just like you want to be like, okay, ignore this side of me, but like embrace this side of me, like no matter how good or bad of a human you are, I feel like, so it's just tough, man.
That's the I've been having some conversation with realizing with some of my friends that it is for real, like unconditional love, what I have with them, the type of love that my parents have for me, of like, there's really nothing you could do outside of like, I don't know, trying to kill
somebody,
or me, like those sorts of things. And even then, honestly, bro, even then there's some friends who'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna ride with you, dude, we'll figure this out.
Right.
It's like, that's insane, but like like love me for, I love you for you, and that is the shitty parts of you, the ridiculous drunk parts of you, the sweet parts of you, and the same for me. Like, that's what I want, and that's part of where this podcast comes from. That's part of where doing improv comes from, of like, this is me, man. Like, this is me trying to fully embrace myself with who I am, and with that comes like more confidence in my own self, like this, as I'm making myself more vulnerable on the stage and on the podcast and just in conversations in general. I'm becoming more like, not that I never like, I don't think I ever didn't accept myself. There was a lot of weird negatives, but I think I'm more and more like just beginning to be like, yo, this is just who I am, man. And I don't have time for you. If you're not going to be what I'm about, then cool. Like, good. Now we know, do your thing. But This is what I'm doing.
100%. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
32.
Okay, I'm 31, man. So I feel like, I don't know, something about when I hit 30, man. Like I feel like my senior year of high school is when I stopped giving a fuck about what people thought of me. But like really in my 30s, like now I'm really like, I don't give a fuck what you think about me. Like I am who I am, and I believe in what I believe in, and I'm doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And it's like you can take it or leave it. You know, and it's just, I don't know if it's something about becoming a dad too, you know, where it's just like I got all these responsibilities, man. I got these things to do, and like all these creative ideas that I'm trying to create. It's just like I don't have time for you if you don't fit into the stratosphere and you don't accept me for just like who I am. Like I just don't have time for it. So like why even waste time? You know, I feel like when you're in middle school and high school, you know, you're trying so hard to like please people that really don't care for who you are, you know what I mean? But yeah, once you get to this age, I just feel like you're like, ain't nobody got time for that, man. Like,
No, dude, it's like
I gotta be myself.
Yes, I completely agree. For me, it probably started once I started living by myself, which has been about 6 years, sort of improv. Um, Improv, you've listened to enough episodes to know that I talk about improv all the time. But that thing that really sort of shepherded me in this direction of like, who are you? What do you actually care about? Because I like to be nice to people, and my understanding of being nice to people was doing whatever, like kind of giving up myself to acquiesce to what they want, and that made me sort of forget like sort of my own what I'm trying to do and what I care about and what actually makes me happy. And as I've gotten older and busier and doing other stuff, it's like I don't even have time to not do shit that I don't want to do. And that doesn't, you know, I'm still hanging with friends, and I'll help a friend move still, you know, which is the nicest thing anyone can do.
Moving sucks. It is the nicest thing anyone can do.
I'm actually about to move in a week.
Oh gosh, from your place right now?
Yeah, into another place down the road. And a few friends offered to help me move, and I was like, damn, you guys are nice. I'm gonna get a truck to move some of these, like, I don't know if you can see this big gigantic ass credenza that my sister and her boyfriend made, and it's 7 feet.
Sweet. It's got a sliding barn door on that.
These people, shout out to my sister and her boyfriend and their cute dog, dude. They've made everything in my house pretty much. And that thing,
they made that table too with the 2 microphones.
Yes, specifically for the podcasting. And we carried this gigantic, me and her boyfriend Clint carried this gigantic thing up 3 flights of stairs together, and it sucked so much ass, dude. It was a nightmare. So now I'm gonna have a truck.
Oh man.
Let some other stronger men carry that shit down. But all that to say, I had friends offer to help me move, and I was like, damn, dude, you guys are nice as hell. Thank you. Like I felt so loved.
Dude, I'm always, and that's a crazy thing too. You know, I talk about these negative people and cut people out, man, but I feel the same, man. I've got so many people in my life that do so many nice things for me where I'm just like, why? Like, why do you don't have to do that, you know? It's so funny. Like my work people, man, on my team, man, are like some of the nicest people. It's my birthday, like last week. And I took that, thanks, man. And I took that day off, and like UPS comes. I was like, what the hell? Like, what? I ain't getting anything from UPS. We didn't order anything. They sent me a cake, like a small cake in the mail, and like all this candy opens up, and these like weird twist up butterflies with like paper clips. But just like the thought of like doing something like that, where I'm just like, man, people are always so nice to me. And then I feel like maybe I'm not nice enough to other people, you know?
You're yelling at the Chipotle person because they're asking you about Pinto questions. You're getting cakes in the
I know. To be quite honest, man, you know, and this is like, you know, I feel like I'm a very introspective person. So I try and look, and I want to be kind and more nice to people. I think my biggest problem, and I don't know if you have this problem, I'm very interested because you seem to love improv probably as much as I love music. But like I'm so wrapped in music like all the time, man, that like sometimes I feel like it sucks me away from like other friendships. So like I'm usually with like my music friends a lot, you know what I mean? And my other friends are asking me to hang, and I'm like, oh shit, like I was gonna jam with this person, or like, oh man, I was gonna go to the record store, or like I was gonna set aside this time to listen to this album. Like I'm just always like obsessing about music, and I feel like it gets in the way of me thinking to do other things. Like, oh, I should send my friend a gift for their birthday. I'm just like, happy birthday. All right, back to this thing. You know what I mean? Like it's just, I don't know, man.
There was a stretch I was doing Like right now, we're not doing any live shows. I mean, some of the theaters are starting to open up here, like some stand-up theaters are, and in other parts of the country, like they're doing outside stuff. So improv, I haven't done any live improv shows since, excuse me, since March.
Yeah.
But there was a stretch where I was doing shows on every, like, one day during the week and one day on a Saturday I was doing improv shows. And then sometimes, and that was for like probably a year and a half, where I was doing 2 shows a week and then some other random shows sprinkled in. And then I was also working my job, which is 9 to 5. And I was also just doing other stuff, trying to exercise, trying to sleep, trying to go on dates with random girls. And so like trying to do all this stuff and then see my parents and like, and all of that. It got to a point where I'd have to tell my friends like, yo, just come to my show if you want to see me, because like I don't have time to like, and I want to see you, like I want to chill, but I'm also fucking tired and I want to sit in my house alone and veg. And yeah, it definitely got to that point. I've been starting to think about, like, not to necessarily like create a list of who my top people are, but like beginning to understand, like to some degree,
like MySpace,
kind of, sort of of like top 8. Actually, I do every month. I put a new list on the internet so people know where they stand directly in my life. But it's like,
good idea.
Just so everyone knows, I don't even have to have that weird conversation. It's like, bro, you're number 9. We'll check again next month. Like we can figure it out then. Right now, you're low on the list. Of like, who do I need to make sure I dedicate my time to? You know, I'm living by myself, so I got to go out and see people and all that. But it's like, you know, my parents, my sister, and then it's like, I don't know, this other aunt. Not even to like marginalize an outside friend, but it's like I could either spend 2 hours with a really, really close friend and building, like growing that relationship, or I could hang out with this other person who kind of makes me feel like whatever, you know, it'll be chill, or just like even just like do I want to just go on a date with some stranger because maybe we'll like hook up, or would I rather just kick it with my buddy and watch basketball, you know? And it's like, what's going to actually make me feel better? And thinking about that in a way, like there was this one dude, I don't know who he is, but he was talking about how like he doesn't live in the same state as his parents. And so he sees his parents twice a year for a weekend. He goes, so I probably have about 20 more visits with my parents before they die. It's like, that's kind of grim to think about.
Yeah.
I don't know who said that.
I think Aziz was talking about that. I think Aziz was talking in a stand-up about that.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, as dark as that is, I think it's like, how do you know, what do you do in those, how do you make those moments important? And what do you, just kind of like, you know, figuring out what actually matters. Now you have a kid, I imagine.
I was gonna say, man, imagine being married and having a kid, man. Like it's so weird, man, with everything going on. Like my whole life has always been busy. So like even in college, man, that's when I really started to learn play guitar, and I was obsessed with it. So I would be like playing guitar for like 5 hours a day. I was working a full-time job at Best Buy doing 40 hours, and I was taking like 16 credit hours. So like my life has always been busy. And then same thing when I was doing improv, stand-up comedy, sketch comedy. Plus, I was starting KJ the Good Time Family Band, so I was playing shows with that band. Plus, I had a full-time regular job, and obviously, I was probably engaged or whatever at the time. It's like my life has always been like super busy, man, and trying to cram pack in things, man. But it's been nice to have this break, man. It's just like tough, and my mom is like really a big like family person, so like mom always wants to like see us, you know, and it's just like, I'm like 30 years old, man. Like I'm just doing so much shit. Like it's so hard.
I meant the same. I had Wednesdays where I would work from 9 to 5. I would go volunteer. I was a volunteer.
Yeah, I was volunteering too for an organization.
So I would volunteer on Wednesdays, and then right after that would end, I would go do a show. So I would leave my house at 8. I wouldn't come home till like 10:30, and then I have to go back to work the next day. It was like really fun because I want to do, because all of those things, you know, I need to work because it's, you know, you gotta make money, and it's starting to build a job up where I can actually like, I really like it. Wanted to volunteer because it's a beautiful organization. We're doing improv for kids in hospitals. What the organization is about, it's Hope England. She's been on the podcast, and she's going to be back pretty soon.
I think I listened to her episode.
Hope is awesome, man. Just like she took this beautiful vision of wanting to help people through comedy and with a psychology background, and turned it into this organization that has these like lofty ass goals of finding healing through humor. And I was just like, this is incredible.
Yeah, that's great.
And then I wanted to be a part of that because I want to be like part of those movements. You know, that's a thing I could really like. I rarely want to, and I think picking an organization and being like, I fully support the Democrats or the Republicans or all this other whatever. It's like I struggle to do that. But like Humor for Hope is one of the first things where I'm like, I am 100% about what you guys are about. I fully believe your cause. I'm going to tell everybody about your shit. And then I also wanted to do improv. And it's like, well, I have to do all of these in one day. And then we'll eat an apple while I'm driving, call some friend or check in with my parents or whatever. And it's like, but I want to do all of that stuff. And I want to do a lot of that. And I also want to, yes, see my parents and my mom, my family, like I assume like my parents live close and my grandma's still alive. And so I'll go see the family and have to go visit them. And it's like, I got to go do that. And I would still want to do all these other things. And yeah, I think I'm in that same of like.
And it's so tough to me with parents because like you've grown up with them your whole life. You know what I mean? It's like, I love you to death. Like, I really do wish I could see you, but it's just like, I don't know about you, but it's just like, I don't have a lot in common with my parents. You know what I mean? I'd rather be hanging out with my friends, drinking and playing music and listening to records. Like, that's what I would rather choose, you know? So like, my mom takes it as a sign of disrespect, but it's just like, I'm just going to come there and like, you're just going to look at my baby and like, I'm just going to sit here and like, it's just going to be a little bit boring. You know what I mean? It's just like, but obviously it's like, you want to spend that time with like your family and your parents, but yeah, it's just, it's so tough, man. But I tell you what, man, having like, even though like, man, it's awful, everything that's happened with coronavirus, but for those of us who have survived it, like, man, it's just been so nice to like, just get this little bit of a break, man, and just like catch my breath, man. And you know, and I think about like all the stuff I had planned before my daughter got here, and I'm just like, I don't know how I would have did it. Like, September, we were supposed to have a residency at this place called the Tip Tops, where we were supposed to play there every Monday night. I was just like, man, if I had to work every Monday night, or I like play music every Monday night, wake up for work in the morning, work 8 to 5, and come home to like my daughter crying and having to like get her to sleep. I'm like, I don't know how I would have did it. Like, and I really don't know how my bandmates did it, because my bass player has 2 kids and my drummer has 1 kid, and they had all of that before all of this happened, and they were coming to shows, and my drummer lived like 2 hours away for some of the shows, so he was commuting to come in to these shows. So I'm just like, I have so much more appreciation for those guys now.
I think it's a very accepting and loving partner, like Christina on my improv team has been on the podcast.
Jessica talked about that too on your podcast, I think. Jessica Noble, she was saying same thing. You know, it's just really about having a supportive partner, man, that realizes how much you like love something and have a passion for something. You know,
they know that you need to get that fixed to be able to just be the best dad and husband you need to be. It's like I've been seeing that with so my friends are starting to have babies now, and just like that understanding of, and I don't know, like I just looking at how my parents like raised us, it was like they completely sort of sacrificed everything about themselves to make sure the family was taken care of.
I said the same thing. I'm just like, I feel like my parents had these identities before me that I have no idea about, because like they just sacrificed all that, you know? Yeah.
Whereas like with my friends who are having babies, and you can tell me how it is for you, it's like there's this, yes, I want to give this child everything and more, but there's also a part of me that I'm unwilling to sacrifice for this kid. And I think I'm going to probably do the same. You know, I have a lot of my own shit, and I want to love, I'm assuming I'm going to love this child that I have if I ever have a kid, you know, but it's like, I'm not going to give up everything about me.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's what you need to do. I don't know. Or like, I don't know.
Oh man, it's a mind fuck, dude, because it's just like, you love your kid. Like, I see my daughter, man, I love her more than life itself, but I'm just like, there's certain times where I'm just like, man, if I don't go upstairs and like play guitar or like just get a second to myself to do something musically, like, I'm going to go insane right now. You know what I mean? And my wife like understands that, I feel like, you know, but yeah, like, you know, I think about my dad, man, where like, even like collecting records, like, I don't know if you follow me on Instagram, but like I collect a shit ton of records. And the only reason I started when I started to get more into music when I was like 18, I remember my parents were like moving, and I found this whole crate of records, and I was like, oh man, whose are these? And my dad's like, oh, these are all mine. So that's how I started collecting records. I took like all of his and got a turntable and like started catching up on all of that. And he's just like, yeah, I used to go to Believe in Music like every Friday with my paycheck and like buy a record. And like, I'm realizing like how much my dad used to like music, and realizing like, oh, that's probably why I love music so much. But I'm just like, he never showed that side to me when he was younger, you know? Same thing, like I went to my grandma's house one time, and there was like this huge tiger painting in the basement. I'm like, oh, who did this? And my dad was like, oh, I did that. And I'm like, what? You paint? He's like, yeah, I used to do like drawing and stuff, but like, you know, it's just like, I'm sure he just became a parent and just was like, gotta work, gotta be hard. Like, that's my dad, you know what I mean? Like, never miss a day of work, like just that type of guy. And it's just like, I feel like he lost himself or like sacrificed himself, as opposed to like me and like you said, like our generation, like I'm not gonna sacrifice, like I'm not gonna not play guitar for like years on years just because I have a kid. Like I just like I literally cannot do that, you know. So yeah, I don't know if that's just like a generational thing where like our parents understood like, hey, we got to drop this to create the best person, or are we just so used to, I feel like, juggling multiple things all the times in our generation where we're just like, fuck it, man, I got to do both.
Yeah, I don't know. I really, my dad actually recently told, so my dad's like really big into music, doesn't really play any instruments now, but has like rhythm and like messes around with the tablas, which are the Indian drums, but never sort of fully dove into it. And he was telling me the story of when he was younger, where I don't even know, he was probably a teenager, but they were on so my parents were both born in Africa, and they were driving, I don't know where they were driving, and like a big school trip or something, and they ended up stopping at this random hotel, and some of his friends were in a band and they needed someone to play the drums, but their drummer wasn't there. So they asked my dad to just like play around on some like whatever. And my dad was like, we turned that into a concert. And I was like, did you ever play with them again? And he said, no. And I was like, damn, dude, like, I mean, maybe I wouldn't be here if you would have pursued that life, you know, like maybe you would have created
Right.
me, I met my mom, all that stuff. But it's like,
Yeah.
man, I'm sure there's a part of him that like wishes he would have
took that path.
Yeah, I'm sure he thinks about it because we still have like tablas at the house, and he'll kind of mess around with them. And he's been retired for a few years. I'll be like, have you just like sat down and played them? And he's like, no. I was like, just pull up some YouTube videos, man. Like, just you're not doing shit else. You're just chilling,
man. But it's just
and he's
like
happy though. But he's chilling. You know, I'm not trying to tell him.
I feel like that life is so far gone for him that like he just doesn't even really care. But for us, we're like, yes, pick it back up, like get into it. You know, I'm the same thing with my dad. I set him up on my Spotify account. So I'm like, make these playlists, man. Like make music. I know you love music, you know, like he's just kind of like, like I like it when you make a playlist for me, but I don't want to do the work, you know.
But maybe, yeah. I mean, you know, I don't want to. I find myself looking at people and trying to like maybe not look at them as a negative example, but like, you know, I use my parents as like, all right, cool. You know what? I like what they do. I also don't like what they do. So I'm going to be the counter to that. So like my parents put so much effort into raising their children, I think raised two good kids, you know, and it's like that required probably your whole heart and soul, which meant giving up a lot. I think they basically gave up all of themselves to, like, you know, my dad, like things, I think this is all parent shit. And this is probably stuff that your daughter won't know about, of like, my dad didn't, when I was super young, my dad would basically work like whatever fucking all Sunday from whenever in the morning to whenever at nighttime, just to like, and he never says it. He's never like, motherfucker, do you know what I did? I used to work 24 hours for your stupid ass. Not listen to me. But like those sacrifices, like it's necessary and it's so beautiful. It's just
yeah, I know. It's crazy to think about, man. Just being a parent, you know, and talking to my mom, and like, you know, I get it. That's why she wants to spend so much time, because, you know, it's funny. I even recently I found like some home videos or whatever, and you know, it's so crazy because like I feel like my mom is a different person now. You know, like where I'm just like, man, it's not the same woman I know when I was growing up. But I look at those home videos, and I'm just like, no, she was the exact same person even then. It's just like I was a kid, so I had a different perspective of like what I saw her as, you know what I mean, like as a person, you know. But it's just like kind of weird to just like think like, you know, your parents get older, man, and like I feel like my mom is having like this thing of being like, I can't let my kids go because like she still sees me as a little kid, and you know, and I've seen her as a totally different person now. And then I watch these videos, I'm like, no, she's the exact same person actually. Like life is crazy, man.
My parents and I've been talking about the importance of like the shifting of the relationship, like they like kind of breaking up a little bit in the they, maybe Thomas and I talked about it, I don't know, but like just breaking up with like, we're no longer parents and young kid, we are 30-year-old man and older parents, and I now have like, you know, they've been alive twice as long as I have, but I have now taken care of myself, paying my own bills, trying to figure out my own shit. And that has to be a different relationship now, you know, from both ends. Like what I need from them and what they need from me are very different. It's shifted now. When I was little, I
Right.
needed them to tell me what the fuck to do. Now it's like, I don't need you to tell me anything. And I really like, I don't want anyone actually to tell me what I'm supposed to do. Like I push back so much because it's like, you don't even know what you're doing. So how can you tell me what to do, you know? But I'm still open to
Yeah.
advice. I have these conversations because I want to know what you're about, you know, so I can pull from how you're operating. But
Right.
like there has to be we both need to understand that. And I think my parents have done such an interesting job of like adjusting, which is probably hard
Yeah.
because yeah, I think that my parents go through the same thing of like, when I finally started paying my own phone bill and car bill and all that, my mom was like, we thought we were going to lose you. And I was like, Mom, if our relationship was only predicated on the fact that
They
you paid my
provide for you.
bills, yeah, then what was this relationship at all? You know, it's like so much deeper than that. Like I will always
Yeah.
need you. It's just,
Yeah.
it's a different need, you know, but I can see that. I can definitely see
I've
that.
got to explain an analogy to my mom because I think that's what's going on between us. You know what I mean? Of like, I'm paying all my own stuff. I'm doing all this. So she feels like I don't need her. I'm like, you're my mom. Like, I still need you. I just don't need to talk to you every day on the phone to like figure out how to do the most simplest of things. Like, if I call you once a week, like, that's the one that time like where we could talk and catch up, or like I need you, but like I don't need to talk to you every day on the phone, you know. And for her, it's just like important. It's just like I haven't even talked to like my kid. And I'm like, yeah, because I have a kid and like I'm doing stuff now. Like it's hard, you know.
One of my really good friends just had a baby, and I was kicking it at his house a little while ago, and I'm watching him. He's holding his beautiful daughter, and just watching this relationship of like, so with his wife, she was always kind of the mom of our group. She would just always take care of us. She would always like just be sweet. And so I always just had that mom sense in her brain. With him, I never thought he'd be a bad dad, but we were just like, you know, taking shots, doing stupid shit. And she was too, but just the air of him was.
No,
And so now
I
I'm
know what
watching
you
him.
mean.
And now I'm watching him with his daughter. And I told him, I was like, this is like emotionally like arousing me, not to sound weird, but it's just like making me feel shit, you know. And I'm watching him have this beautiful moment where he's just holding his daughter and she's staring at him and smiling, or she'll like follow him around the room. And I was like, at some point that girl is going to be like, fuck you, get out of my face. And it's probably going to be so heartbreaking. And that's probably what like parents are dealing with. It's like, I used to hold you and you used to love me. And you're probably
it's so crazy. I experienced the same thing, man. You know, it's so funny because like my wife and my daughter definitely have this connection, but like I don't know, me and my daughter, it's just like same thing. She'll follow me like as soon as I'm coming down, like I'm usually upstairs here working or doing something. As soon as she hears me like creaking, I see her like on the couch, like just look up and like, you know, it's just like, yes, I could tell she has this love for me. And I'm just like, yeah, one day she's probably gonna hate me because I'm gonna like lay down some rules. And like even myself, I don't even feel like I'm strict or anything like that. But it's just like that's part of the parenting game. Like she's gonna hate me one day and I'm just gonna have to accept it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I don't even know what that's like. I fostered a dog for a little bit, and she would like look at me when I was talking to her, and I was like, "This is insane to have something." I don't know what, like to have something just look at you with like you are the only thing in my world.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, no, it's wild, man.
ridiculous.
And like it's so crazy, man. And like you know, everybody thinks like their kid is like special and all this, but like I always told my wife, like I just even before my daughter was born, like I feel like I have like this connection, like I feel like she's gonna be great. And even when she was born, dude, so the doctors are asking us like what times or whatever. And I was like 11:11, and the doctor was like, ah, whatever. Like, why do you think that? And I was like, because I just feel like special, and like 11:11 is the time that like I always see. So like I feel like she's gonna be born at 11:11. My daughter came out at 11:11 a.m. on the dot on 7/11, dude. And the doctor just like, what? How did you know? And I'm like, I knew, man. It's just like I don't know. So like I feel that connected with like my daughter. You know what I mean? It's just like it's crazy to think, man. You know, it's just like, yeah, right now she's just like a screaming freaking baby. I'm sure middle part will be like great, where we'll really connect and I'll teach her stuff. And then she'll get older and she'll be like, all right, fuck you, dude. Like, thanks for helping me. And I'll still be like, but my daughter, I said you were going to be born at 11:11 and now you don't even care about me. Like, you know, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. Or maybe we won't have that story. Who knows? So let's see. I don't know. It's wild to think about life that way.
Was kids something you've always wanted, or did you always
No,
think you'd have
man. And
kids?
you know, my friends like crack up now that I have a kid because I used to say I was never gonna have kids. It was not something. So I started actually. I volunteer at this place called Woodfield Community Center, and I've been doing that. I don't know, probably since like 24, 25, and just one of those things where just like I feel like I need to be in the community, be involved. Man, I was getting older. I was like, it's usually like we have a good mixture of kids, but it's mainly like refugee kids and like just kids of African descent and things like that. And so, anyways, I wanted to get involved with them, man. And I didn't think I would be there for long. I thought I was just gonna do a summer. Fast forward, I still do it like once a week. We always go down there. I haven't been doing it recently because of COVID and everything, but yeah. So when I started hanging around with those kids, man, I was just like, damn, man, like maybe kids like can be okay, you know. And then I met my wife, obviously, man, and we just connected. Where I was like, this seems like a person where I could actually have a kid with and create something like better for society. You know what I mean? And decided to do it.
Yeah. What the community center is just a place for those kids to hang
Yeah,
out.
man, just to get loose and hang out, and obviously we try and do lessons. So we have like a summer program that'll run like 8 weeks, and that's Monday through Thursday. The kids can come. We usually like play basketball. They usually do like little Bible studies. Like I'm not really that religious, but like it's kind of religious based. In the summertime, you know, they'll do like a little Bible study with them, give them like a little snack, and then in the winter time, we only meet once a week. Winter, fall, spring, all of that. Like so after the summer, we meet once a week every Thursday. And then on Thursdays, we'll get like a dinner, just hang out, do homework with the kids. They still want to play outside even when it's cold. So usually we'll get out there and like play with them and do some things like that. But yeah, it's really just like there's an apartment complex that had this huge like garage storage place. And some people like took it over and created it into a community center. So usually all the kids from the apartment complex come around and then like surrounding areas.
Cool. And they're all like foreign kids or kids that weren't from here?
No, yeah, it just so happens like in that apartment complex, I feel like they just taking a lot of like refugees or like foreign kids. So like a lot of the kids in the apartment complex like may have came from like Ethiopia or like traveled somewhere like years back, obviously, you know, like Bosnian kids, things like that. So it's like a lot of foreign kids. I think that's like what the center is about. It just so happens we have a lot of kids like that, you know.
Cool. I think the connection got a little squirrely. I think we're good.
Yeah, I was like, did it freeze?
No, we're good. We're good. Okay. Well, that's the fun of technology,
Yeah,
man. That's
yeah.
awesome, dude. I think those things are, yeah, that's like partially like I don't really volunteer as much anymore. I was starting it was just starting to get really busy, and I was starting to really get just schedules getting crazy and trying to do a lot of other things too. But like, yeah, I want to, there are a lot of little ways you can help the world that are small efforts that, you know, like that sounds.
I 100% believe in that, man. You know, I love doing that because it's just like I can't change the world, man. Like I know that for a matter of fact. But like if I could change one of those kids' lives, man, and like teach them something valuable, man, and then they have kids or either passing on to the next kid they hang out with, like that's really what it's all about, man. And that stuff is super infectious, man. I mean, we even had an example one of the kids, man, Francisco, man, I love this kid, man. He's got to get some stuff together. That's the good thing about being a mentor, though. I'm like, dude, you suck at being on time and doing things, but he's such a good kid, man. But I got a picture of us when we were 12, when he was 12, and we were like making this song with all these other kids. And I got another picture of him, and he's like 17 now, man. And one of these kids, they were like 5, and they were about to fight at the center, you know. So I'm about to run over there, break it up, and I see Francisco going over, and I'm like, let me sit back, man, just see like what he do, how he handle it, you know. And he's just like talking to these 2 little 5-year-olds, just like, hey, man, y'all brothers, man. Like y'all can't be fighting each other, man. Like this is so petty, so small of what y'all arguing about. And he's like, man, just shake hands, man, and talk it out, you know. And I'm like, damn, man, I feel like such a proud parent. This is before I had my daughter, you know, but I feel like such a proud parent of like this 12-year-old kid, man, that I was just like playing guitar with, you know, teaching him all this stuff. And now he's like 17 and he has enough moral compass to stop 2 5-year-olds, man, and have this conversation with them and being like, yo, this is not the way to do this, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, that's the key, man. Like that's why I do this shit, you know. And I mean, Cisco was always a good kid, you know, so he always had that. But I like to think that, you know, some conversations and some things that I've had at that center with him made him some part of the way like that, you know.
I think that's I've had friends say like, you know, the world is fucked up, and it's like, yeah, but the world is made up of individuals making individual choices, and if you want some shit to change, you have to, like, I don't know, be the change is a slogan, but it's like you have to be that. You have to sort of embrace that shift if that's what you want.
All right. Let's see. Cool. We're back.
Good.
Right.
Yeah, the internet.
Sorry, man.
That's all right. The connection was getting a little squirrely. Earlier.
Yeah. Sometimes you know, like with Zoom conference calls too, they say if you stop the video for a while, it'll like buffer back up or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually bought an Ethernet cord that I need to start plugging in so that I can get like direct connection right into the thing, so I'm not worrying about wireless. So I think, well, what I was saying, and I don't know if this actually came through because it was getting weird, but like that, I think the way to change the world is sort of what you're talking about. It's like those small things. Like, can you impact one person? I think about that with, like, you know, conversations I have with people, not even to say that I'm doing anything grand, but like, can my thought process impact someone? Because there's like singular people who have shifted the way that I think about stuff, you know, just like an artist that I've listened to, or someone that I've read, or a podcast, or some conversation I've listened to that's like opened me up to a new way of thinking. That's like, well, shit, if I hadn't listened to that one person, I probably wouldn't have thought about this, which led me to this, which led me to this, and all this bounced around. And like, I think that's the way you do that is.
Man. Tupac has like a famous quote where he says like, I can't start the fire, but like I could sure as hell like light the match that like starts the fire. You know what I mean? And like that's just really how I think about that. Where it's just like, yeah, I might not start the fire, but my daughter might be the match, and I might light that fire, and she might or strike that match, and she might start the fire. You know, so it's just like how I really think about things. Just
do you feel then like, is that the role that you feel like your music plays? Is that who can this potentially impact? This is my soul, and hopefully.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. You know, I was listening to you know, Lamar Odom Jr. or Lamar Odom, Leslie Odom Jr. Still Lamar Odom. Lamar Odom is, but Leslie Odom is the guy who plays at Hamilton. He plays Aaron Burr. Yeah. So, anyways, like he's a Broadway like actor, but he talks about how like he was just talking about how some people are like penniless, you know what I mean? Like when they create art and then they die and they become like super rich and famous, and like people discover their art, and it's like all this crazy stuff. So sometimes I think of like Cajun and the Good Time Family Band in the sense of like that. Like I feel like maybe we're not for like right now, but maybe like 25 years from later, maybe some kid will find our random record in a record store and be like, oh man, like this shit is like really speaking to me, or saying something to me, you know. So I don't really necessarily think of it like making an impact right now, but I hope the right person who might need to find it finds it when they find it, you know.
That's really beautiful. I think about that with this a little bit too. It's like, you know, this is me just like, you know, speaking my whatever truth with how I'm feeling right now with the person that I'm speaking to, and who knows when anyone's going to listen to any of these episodes and in what moment. Like I find podcasts of episodes that were like, you know, years ago that I finally listened to today. That's like, holy hell. Like that was so whatever, you know, a random Joe Rogan podcast from 2 years ago where it's like, oh shit, that conversation's so cool. And it's like, it's just putting it out there, man. I think that's like the strength of this stuff. It's like, put your shit out there, man. Like, you know, just maybe someone will hear it, maybe someone won't. Who cares?
You never know. And I mean, especially in today's like day and age, like you just never know like when somebody's, I mean, just think about Justin Bieber, man, who's like a pop star right now. He was just some 12-year-old kid posting YouTube videos of him playing drums. And then Usher and Justin Timberlake, or was it Justin Timberlake? I don't know. Usher and I think it was Justin Timberlake. One of them, both of them, they just discovered him, and then they both offered him deals. And now like look what the stratosphere of like what this kid's magnitude of his life is. And it was all because he was just posting something on YouTube, you know what I mean? And I just feel like with art and like everybody having the ability to do it, like if you truly love it, like if you're really doing it like because you love it and not to be rich or famous or whatever, just put it out there, man. Just like you just never know where that stuff is going to take you, you know.
Yeah, damn, that's beautiful, dude. I think that might be a good place to stop. I think that's a really nice message.
Yeah, man. To top on that message,
please,
one thing.
Please, absolutely.
Because like this is also important of it. You know, where like for me, man, you know, I was talking earlier about like how much I love music, man. I don't think people really understand. And, you know, people say they love music and they like they listen to music, but like I'm like reading liner notes, man. I'm like studying this shit, man. I'm surrounded by people who love music. You know, the one thing that also in that Leslie Odom Jr. thing that I was listening to, he talked about like when you love something enough, like it'll love you back. So like you with improv, for instance, like, and I can see you have the same thing. Like you hang out with improv people who love it just as much as you. Like if anybody's willing to talk about improv, I'm sure you're down to do like a 5-hour conversation about improv and you would not miss a beat. Same thing with me in music. If somebody wants to talk about like Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life or like a Prince album or something and like dissect it, like I'll be there to talk to you about that. Like I'm all down for that. You know what I mean? So when you love something like so much to like surround yourself around the people who love it, talk about it all the time, be obsessed with it in a healthy way where like you're still able to eat and shower and do like,
the good kind, the good kind.
Yeah. Like when you're obsessed with like something like as much as I love music, like even though like I'm not doing it to be famous, I feel like that piece of work will be loved when it's meant to be loved because like I've put everything that I love about music. Like I've done everything, you know what I mean? So like the love is there. So anyways, all I'm saying is like, if you love something enough, like that art form, just put it out there because you just never know who else will like love it as much as you do.
That I'm gonna add on that. Maybe we won't. We were just that's not gonna be our part. But we're gonna keep going. But like,
let's end it.
Let's end it. But I'm gonna add more. That genuine feeling, like it's just you can see it, dude. Like I've watched performers on stage who just say shit because they think it's gonna be funny, but not that it's coming from the soul, and that sucks. It doesn't work. And like with you guys on stage, man, I was like, damn, these motherfuckers love that shit. Like it's just so you can feel it, man. It's hard to describe, but I it's just when people are doing it like from the heart. Like I've had so many people tell me that when I talk about improv, they can see it, like see me light up, and I don't even know it. I'm not even trying. It's just that's like it's just.
And have you ever had that experience too, where like you know you find somebody else like randomly and they like improv, you're like, me too, I do improv, and then you guys get in that conversation and you just like connect with that other person and being like, okay, like you get it, you know what I mean? Like you feel like you found your people, you know?
Yeah, man. It's helped me like find a part of my soul that I didn't know I was missing. And then when I'm hanging out with improv people, and you know, like my friends, probably like yours, my friends come from all over. Like a lot of most of my friends that I've had in my life are not improv friends. Those are like my new group of friends, but it's like finding this community of people who are just like connecting in a community that I was like, oh, this is a community that I was kind of missing. And I don't even like, you know, I'm not super close with every improv person that I know. And even within my team, I'm closer to some of my team, of my team members than others. But it's like, there's this we get it, man. We know what we're trying to do out here. And it's such a nice, but that's people willing to put it out there and just putting your soul out there because that's just like what is needed.
Yeah, man. Improv and music, the only things that will save us all if everybody took a risk to do them. I think that's the other thing too with both of the things that we're doing. Is people don't like, you know, like when people would think like, I mean, improv and both of those things, whenever I did both of them, people would be like, oh my God, like, I cannot believe you did that. Like, I would never do that. Like, I'd be so scared to do that. And it's just like, why? Because you're afraid like that you might actually like show yourself or like be yourself or like, because those two things are like, you have to really pull back yourself and like be open. You know what I mean? I feel like, you know, it's funny, going back to one of your other episodes, Thomas Back, is that his name? Yeah, but he was talking about how, you know, how people aren't genuine. So like, you know, the doctor might ask you about like, you know, having sex, how many partners? It's like, oh, I don't want to really admit it, so I'm gonna lie and say this, you know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people do that when they do improv and comedy, where I feel like me and you both kind of have that thing where it's just like, no, if I go up on stage, man, like you're gonna see like an actual real side of me, like another side you've never seen before. And too many people are genuinely like scared to do that, to like show a different side. And so I feel like anybody can really do any type of art or anything they want to, or improv, and it's not really, you're not scared of being in front of people, you're scared of like exposing yourself and people seeing like a different side of you, you know?
That's so fucking funny, dude. Maybe we are just the same person. Because I've said, when people say like that same shit of like, I can't do this, it's like, yeah, you can, man. Like you might not be good at it, but that's I think actually irrelevant. Like I don't even think that matters. It's like the getting up there, it's you can do it. You just have to do it, and just
Yep.
okay with opening yourself up to letting people see what's up inside of your soul. And that's the strength. And that was me too, dude. Like improv has shifted my relationship with fear. It's fucking crazy. It's like made me understand that the more vulnerable I am, the stronger I become. And it's diving into that fucking monster to realize like it's way better on the other side, man.
Yeah, it is, man. When you like really free yourself up, you know what I mean? And you get to experience it like over and over again. I think that's what people don't get about like, you know, doing shows, regardless if you do improv or music. It's just like, man, when you get done with that show, man, and once you've really done it, it's just like we talked about, you know, you feel like you're floating, but it's also that release of being like, man, I showed a different side of me that like people would have not seen or like expected to see. And it's just like, can't beat that feeling, man. And, you know, improv, even though that wasn't my lane, I feel like there's so many lessons you can learn from improv. So, you know, like how you were just saying what you were saying, but like even in life, like yes and, man, like me and my band have adapted to use like yes and, because we heard like Fish does that where they don't turn down things. So like for instance, my bass player on Halloween, we had a Halloween show and we hadn't practiced in a long time. So we were already about to go up there and just like go based off what we know. He's like, hey, we should play Ghostbusters tonight. And immediately in my head, I'm like, dude, we haven't even practiced. I don't even really know that song. I've never tried it before. But the improv in me thought like, yes, and it's that. So when we went up there and played the song, it went well. And so it was just one of those musical experiences where like everybody knew Ghostbusters, everybody was dancing, everybody was super happy. And I'm like, just thought if I wouldn't have said yes, and if I would have just been like, nah, man, we can't learn that song, or like, we can't do it, I would have literally missed out on this experience in my life that like still is in my head today of being like, oh, I remember that one time we played Ghostbusters, man, everybody like really super enjoyed it. It's just like, you got to take the risk. And if it would have been bad, which by the way, that show really wasn't that good. So the rest of the show went kind of bad. That was like the one moment that actually worked out. And the rest of the song, we were playing like songs we had played before. We hadn't practiced in so long. We just weren't as tight, you know, but it's just like, if this Ghostbusters song would have went well, it would have just been another experience with the rest of those songs of being like, yeah, the whole show is bad and it is what it is. But like we took the risk and at least we got one good moment out of that. So it's just like sometimes, man, when it comes to like performing, you just got to take the risk, man. And improv like teaches you that so much. Like you can't wait. If you're playing freeze and you say freeze to go to tag the next person, you gotta be ready. There's no like, okay, give me like 5 seconds to think about what I want to say. It's like, nah, you gotta like do what comes to you, man. And it's just like, that really is like life, man. Like you gotta just do what comes to you. Like so many people want to like try and plan out their lives and like have it calculated and try and figure it out. It's like, that life will just punch you in the face and be like, think right now. You gotta do it right now. And that's like literally what improv does for you, and music. So I'm just saying those are two great mediums.
I agree, dude. I think 1000%, man. I 100% agree with you. What are some things you'd like to promote? I'm trying to do a better job of letting people like, you know, the whole episode is kind of that, but maybe some specific things where people can follow you, where they can listen to your guys' stuff.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's funny. I talk about all this stuff about music, and then I get like super nervous to promote myself.
It's so weird. I hate it. I hate selling myself.
Yeah,
I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, me neither. So, and my bass player hates me for that. I will admit that, because like I feel like we could have gotten definitely like more money for shows, but I'm such a nice guy where I'm just like, yeah, sure, I'll do it for this, you know. And he's like, why'd you ask? Like, and I'm like, I don't know, man, because I feel bad like asking. I don't know. But anyways, so KJ and the Good Time Family Band is the name of the band. I mean, nobody's gonna see this, but there's a poster back there. I was gonna say KJ and the Good Time Family Band. You could Google us or Spotify, Apple Music, all that. Our first album, Kinfolk Cousins, is out on that platform, on all of those streaming platforms. And then, like I said, we're working on our second album. We're actually gonna take COVID tests next week, and then we're going back to that lake house where we started last year, because we thought we would have time to finish the album, but obviously COVID, the past 6 months, we haven't been together. So we're going back up to the lake house next week, and hopefully I'm thinking we're gonna finish it and mix it and track it, and hopefully we can have it out like beginning of 2021. So
hell yeah,
that's the plan. Yeah, Dynamics is the name of that album, and I'm super excited for that, because we just like really put a lot of work in that and used it. You know, you were talking about like what drums did you say your dad played?
The tabla.
Tabla? Okay.
Yeah, just like an Indian. It's like two. You've heard it in like Missy Elliott songs, that Timbaland beats that he's done, like those little drums in the. I can't even like. What? It's like I was trying to make the sound of the thumb. It's not very good, but no 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 no. But they sound
Yeah,
like
yeah.
thumbs. But yeah, whatever. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I'm just yeah.
did a lot of those.
The reason I was thinking of that is just saying like this album, we did a lot of stuff. We got a lot of real instruments on there. Have you ever heard of a cuica?
Mm-mm.
It's like it's a Brazilian instrument, and again, like it needs to be wet, but there's this little thing down under here, and it's like I'm sure you've heard it in like Brazilian music, but we got like that on the album. I got just a kalimba, which I don't know how to really play, but like I'm gonna throw this on the album. You know what I mean? It's just a little.
Cool.
Little thumb piano. But I'm just saying, like with this album, man, we really like went outside the box, man, and really had more time to do it. So I'm hoping we can get it out beginning of 2021. I know we're gonna put it on vinyl and have it on streaming platforms. So I would just say start following KJ and the Good Time Family Band on like Instagram, Facebook, all that. And you know, we got music videos and other things up right now to check out. But the second album is really gonna be the doozy, I feel like.
Dude, that's awesome. I'm really looking forward to that album, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, I wanna get you like an individual theme song, man. I feel like I should try and make you like a theme song.
Hey.
Like just
Yes.
keys and so like, you know, like I don't know, we could talk about it later off the podcast, but I would like to like make you like an official tune if we could somehow.
Oh, dude, I mean, hell yeah. 100%.
All right.
Absolutely. That'd be fucking awesome.
All right, we'll talk, man.
Like, all right, for sure.